Today we're looking at a tragic case where a 24-year-old transgender woman was murdered by her boyfriend, a talented football player from Texas. Violence against transgender women has long been a serious problem in the United States, with incidents on the rise. This poses a significant challenge for LGBTQ+ communities and activists fighting for human rights. One heartbreaking example is Ty Underwood's murder in 2015. Ty, a young transgender woman, represented hope for living authentically but tragically lost her life at the hands of her partner. She was found shot in her car, which had crashed into a utility pole after she lost control due to her injuries. In a society where diversity is considered part of the culture, it is unacceptable for transgender women to face stigma and violence. The LGBTQ+ community and activists have made great efforts to raise awareness and educate the public about this issue, but there is still much work to be done. The murder sparked fear and anger among the LGBTQ+ community. Many people believe that the perpetrator committed a hate crime against transgender people. To learn more about the issues related to the murder, please watch the video on the channel specializing in true crime documentaries. Ty Underwood's tragic incident occurred in Tyler, Texas, a city located in East Texas, known for its vibrant folk culture and picturesque landscapes. However, this place is known for not being particularly friendly to transgender individuals. Legal and social issues related to gender identity and the protection of transgender rights have not been comprehensively addressed here. Discrimination and stigma make the living environment in Tyler unsafe and unfriendly for them. Despite efforts from organizations in the community to raise awareness and protect transgender rights, significant improvements are still needed to build a genuine and empathetic environment for them in Tyler. This poses a great challenge and requires support and cooperation from the entire community to create positive change and a more inclusive living environment for everyone. Ty Underwood, born Tyrone Underwood, was known as Ty. She was a beautiful, dynamic, and unique individual. Loved by family and friends, she never let anything stand in her way and always believed in pursuing her own will. In fact, Ty was a transgender woman, born with the name Tyrone Underwood, but she always introduced herself as Ty, the name her friends called her. At 24, Ty left her hometown of Lufkin to move to the city of Tyler, Texas. For her, this was a significant life change. Lufkin was just a small rural town, and moving to a big city like Tyler made Ty feel like she was embarking on a new journey. However, Tyler, Texas is not truly friendly to transgender individuals, with a strong religious foundation often referred to as the buckle of the Bible Belt. The LGBTQ+ community here feels silenced and unsafe due to the unfriendly attitudes from the majority of the population. Nevertheless, Ty tried to live true to herself despite the difficulties and challenges. Ty, a 24-year-old full of life and fearlessness, always remained resilient, even though the world might not accept her. But what Ty could never have imagined was that her life would end tragically. At 2:36 a.m. on a quiet street, a neighbor heard a crash outside. When she looked out her window, she saw a car veered off the road with its headlights still on. Police officers arrived at the scene and recorded their initial observations. As they approached the car, they received no response from the person inside. Tragically, the occupant had passed away. Initially thought to be a car accident, the gunshot wounds on the victim's body suggested otherwise. Inside the car, blood was splattered on the steering wheel, dashboard, and windshield. This blood was identified as Ty Underwood's, and she had died at the scene in the driver's seat. It was clear this was not an accident, but a murder. The investigation into Ty Underwood's death revealed several notable details. The bullets from the back of the car caused the fatal wounds. One of the first striking details was the number of bullet holes in the car. Ty was hit by 4 out of 5 shots fired, with the bullet wounds only visible under the headlights and police flashlights. The police officers examined every inch of the road as they tried to piece together Ty's final moments. The gunshots from the right side of Ty to the left indicated that the shooter had been sitting in the passenger seat, firing at Ty. who was in the driver's seat. The bullets caused severe injuries to Ty. Police believe the shooter fired at Ty and then jumped out while she was driving. Ty wasn't shot just once but repeatedly, with bullets piercing her lungs, causing her to lose control of the vehicle. She tried to accelerate to escape, but the shooter continued to pursue and fire at the car, clearly intending to kill her. Ty's car then hit a mailbox, spun around, and finally crashed into a grassy area, getting stuck in the mud with the wheels digging into the ground. Police speculate that Ty tried to reverse the car to escape, but was unsuccessful. The severity of her injuries left her with no chance of survival. The police believed they understood how Ty was killed. The remaining question was why Ty was murdered. They continued to scan for DNA inside the car to find more clues and clarify the motive behind the killing. Although there was money in the car and nothing was taken, this indicates that the motive was not robbery. Instead, Ty was shot while trying to flee, suggesting another motive, possibly personal hatred or a serious conflict. An important clue the police found was Ty's cell phone. The phone played music until the battery died and the device turned off. This could contain crucial information about who contacted Ty before she was killed. However, her phone was protected by a 4-digit passcode, and the police needed this code to unlock it and access the information inside. The inability to immediately access the phone posed a significant challenge to the investigation. Without the unlock code, they might never know who contacted Ty and possibly contributed to her death. Ty Underwood was found shot to death behind the wheel of her car, ending an indescribably horrific night in Texas. This highlights the brutality of the case and the need to find the perpetrator to bring justice for Ty. The police continued their investigation, trying to unlock the remaining mysteries and find out who caused her tragic death. During the investigation inside the car, detectives found several clues that led them to Ty Underwood's home address. The day after the murder, Ty's best friend and roommate, Kenya, received the heartbreaking news. At the police station, Kenya was interviewed about Ty's relationships, and one name stood out: Carlton Champion. Kenya said Carlton had stayed at the apartment where Ty and she lived for 2 or 3 nights. The crucial information Kenya provided was that the only reason Ty left the house that night was to meet her boyfriend Carlton. Carlton was a 21-year-old freshman at Texas College nearby. He had a rather troubled childhood and had gotten into trouble as a youth. However, by the end of high school, Carlton had settled down and was accepted into Texas College. He moved into the dorms and joined the college football team, where he excelled and joined the varsity team. Carlton was not only a prominent figure at the school, but also highly respected in the football community. In a small school and community city like Texas College, football players were seen as heroes and held in high regard. Carlton's prominence on the team attracted much attention and spotlight to him. Carlton's involvement with Ty made investigators focus on him as a key figure in the case. Detectives needed to learn more about Carlton and Ty's relationship and determine the motive that could have led to her tragic death. This would help them piece together the final puzzle pieces to uncover the truth behind the murder. Police quickly placed Carlton at the top of their suspect list in Ty Underwood's murder. When interrogated, Carlton claimed, "I only met Ty once." When asked about Ty's lifestyle, Carlton appeared very surprised and said he didn't know Ty was transgender, thinking Ty was a woman. He also stated that Ty drove a white car that he had never driven. Carlton said he contacted Ty through a chat app called Kik, but strangely, he had deleted the app from his tablet that very morning. Police suspected Carlton's involvement in the case because of his action of deleting the app, which was the only messaging system between him and Ty. To determine exactly who had contacted Ty, police needed access to Ty's phone, but this required unlocking her iPhone. The police knew that unlocking an iPhone required the correct PIN, and they had only a limited number of attempts before the phone would be permanently locked. Finally, they decided to try Ty's birth date, as the PIN and forth definitely it worked. Once Ty's iPhone was unlocked, all the messages and information inside were revealed, including incriminating conversations with Carlton. The text messages clearly showed that Ty and Carlton had a romantic and intimate relationship. The language and content of the messages, along with sensitive selfies, made it clear that Carlton here lied about not knowing Ty was a woman. This evidence strengthened the police's suspicion that Carlton might be directly involved in Ty Underwood's death. Ty was very clear about her identity, and the messages on her phone revealed a budding romantic relationship between her and Carlton. However, on the night of the murder, the conversation between Ty and Carlton, Ty accused Carlton of meeting other sexual partners online and became angry. She texted, "I'm on my way up there, I'm coming to the school," and Carlton replied, "No, you're not." Through the messages, it was evident that Carlton wanted to keep their relationship a secret. He did not want his friends, teammates, or anyone on campus to know about his relationship with Ty. Ty's phone revealed that the last message she sent to Carlton was, "I'm here." The police used this message to reconstruct the events of the night of the murder. Evidence from the phone showed that Ty and Carlton met that night. When the detectives unlocked Ty's phone, they had enough evidence to conclude that Carlton had been with Ty the night she was killed. Although Carlton insisted to the police that he never left his dorm room, the evidence from the phone messages proved otherwise. The incriminating messages and details of Ty's anger upon discovering Carlton's dishonesty clarified that Carlton not only lied about not knowing Ty was a woman, but also lied about not meeting Ty that night. This helped the police identify Carlton as the main suspect and further solidified his motive in the murder case. The evidence collected from Ty's phone helped the police make significant progress in solving the case and bringing justice for Ty Underwood. That night, Ty Underwood was found dead in her car with multiple gunshot wounds. Initially, suspicion fell on Ty's new boyfriend, Carlton Champion. However, as the police delved deeper into Ty's mobile phone, the case took a shocking turn. During the phone examination, police discovered that Ty had contacted two different people on the night she was murdered. One of them was Carlton Ray Champion, and the other was a mysterious man known only as George. George lived near the area where Ty was killed, making him quickly one of the top suspects. Investigators interviewed George for nearly 2 hours. During the interview, they discussed the communications between George and Ty, but George insisted that they had never dated. Although the officers were suspicious, George remained adamant that he was not involved in the murder. To clarify the truth, George agreed to take a polygraph test. The results of the test determined that George was not involved in the case. Subsequently, the investigators removed George from the list of suspects. Eliminating George as a suspect forced the police to refocus on Carlton. The evidence gathered from Ty's phone, including the final messages between Ty and Carlton, helped the police delve deeper into their relationship and identify potential motives for the murder. These efforts aimed to bring justice for Ty Underwood and uncover the truth about her tragic death. Returning to the primary and main suspect, Ty's new boyfriend Carlton Champion, the freshman football player. Carlton claimed that he did not leave his dorm room on the night of the murder. However, police reviewed surveillance footage and discovered that Carlton had deliberately concealed the truth. The surveillance footage showed that Carlton left his dormitory just before the murder occurred and returned only a few minutes after Ty was shot. The timestamps on the surveillance footage were narrow, but sufficient for Carlton to leave the campus, commit the murder, and then return. Another critical piece of evidence was the DNA sample found inside Ty's car. Laboratory results showed that Carlton's DNA was found on the seatbelt in the interior door handle of the car, even though Carlton claimed that he had never been inside Ty's car. From the night of January 25th to the early morning of January 26th, Carlton texted Ty asking if she wanted to hang out. Statements indicate they planned to meet and exchanged messages for several hours before Carlton fell asleep and Ty became angry. When Ty texted Carlton saying she no longer wanted to see him, Carlton replied, "Now it's like that, and I'll make up for it." Carlton asked Ty to come pick him up. Ty responded with a message, "Carlton, Usama kick you at 11 o'clock, but you chose to be with whoever you were with, and know you think you can exploit of me whenever you want." The exchanges continued until around 2:06 a.m., capturing plans and meeting locations, none of which aligned with Carlton's initial statement to the police that their communication ended around 11 p.m. When asked to explain his inconsistencies, Carlton became defensive and uncooperative according to the arrest affidavit. Confronted with the surveillance video showing him leaving the Texas College campus at 2:13 a.m. and returning around 2:27 a.m., Carlton simply stated that he did not leave his dormitory, according to the affidavit. Tests on the camouflage jacket Carlton was seen wearing when he left Daniel Hall at Texas College showed a positive reaction for blood. Carlton is being held in the Gregg County Jail on a $1 million bond. At the time of the report, he had not yet entered a plea. The police thought Carlton would break under the overwhelming evidence, but the young football star brazenly answered one question after another without showing a hint of remorse. When asked about the murder, Carlton just smiled and said he wanted a hamburger. It was clear that Carlton wasn't taking the situation seriously and seemed to believe he would get away with the charges. The police continued to ask tough questions, such as whether he was gay and why he spent the night with a transgender person, but Carlton responded arrogantly and refused to discuss the topic. His indifference to the seriousness of the situation was truly alarming, and even the seasoned detectives were shocked. When the police threatened to arrest him for murder, Carlton simply replied that he was hungry and didn't care. Carlton's indifferent and cold attitude was quite rare and very frightening, especially when faced with clear evidence of his crime. Although they couldn't force Carlton to confess, the police had gathered enough evidence to bring him before a grand jury. This evidence included Carlton's DNA and Ty's car and surveillance footage, showing Carlton leaving the dormitory at the time of the murder. With all this evidence, they believed justice would be served for Ty. Carlton continued to act foolishly, almost laughing and giggling throughout the interrogation. His lawyer had to constantly remind him to stay silent, stand up, or sit seriously, but he treated it all like a joke. After another outburst of arrogance in court, Carlton was sentenced to life in prison. However, even a life sentence didn't stop him from mocking Ty's family members as he left the courtroom. Trans-murder Carlton's behavior was truly ugly and disgusting. Regardless of his sweet and innocent appearance, Carlton was convicted of murdering Ty Underwood because he feared their relationship secret would be exposed. He couldn't bear the thought of people finding out he was involved with a transgender woman. Fear and stigma led to his cruel and condemnable actions. Carlton Champion's lawyer announced they would appeal. As a result, Carlton Champion will be eligible for parole in 2045. Astonishingly, Carlton still believed he could get away with the crime. He sent a letter to the crime supervision team stating that the police had done dirty work and that he felt fine, comfortable waiting to be free to see what the world had prepared for him. However, Carlton couldn't escape the guilt of his actions. Carlton wrote that he always kept that friendship in his heart, feeling hot and always walking with Ty in his heart. He claimed that despite committing the crime, Ty was still his friend and they were still rocking the world seriously together. These words from a murderer were truly insane and showed Carlton's ignorance and lack of remorse for his actions. For Ty's family and friends, they are left with memories of the special person they lost. Sometimes those memories are so wonderful that they send chills down their spines. Ty's loss brings pain and disbelief to those around him. Antonio, Ty's best friend, shares his feelings, describing it as living in a movie, something that doesn't seem real. Ty's departure has left a significant void in the hearts of his loved ones. Antonio confesses that Ty had a profound impact on his life, and without Ty, he couldn't have achieved his current success. Ty's friends and acquaintances can't believe anyone could harm him. They described Ty as a good person, loved and appreciated by everyone. Antonio also emphasizes Ty's joy and happiness, regretting that he never had the chance to see his best friend again. Deborah Grant, who lives near the crime scene, shares her shock and amazement at the event, describing it as an unprecedented incident in her 46 years living in the area. In 2015, Ty Underwood was one of the first 21 reported transgender women to be murdered. Sadly, this number increased to 27 in 2016. Notably, almost all the victims were transgender women of color. Violence against transgender individuals often reflects the stigma and hatred they face daily. Transgender women, especially those of color, often face higher levels of threat and risk as they endure systemic and communal mistreatment and violence. In this context, the call to protect the LGBTQ+ community becomes more critical than ever. It is a call to provide support, protection, and justice for transgender individuals while combating any form of stigma and violence against them. It is essential to build a society where everyone, including transgender people, LGBT murder, can live without fear, threat, or discrimination based on their identity or nature. Remember, you are not alone in your journey. No matter what challenges you face, remember that there are people willing to stand by and support you. Every individual in the LGBTQ+ community is an important part. You are brave, determined, and ready to fight for your rights and fairness. Each small step you take is a crucial contribution to creating a better world, and moreover, each drop of your sweat in your pain or seeds of hope. Remember that your strength lies in unity and empathy. By standing together and fighting for our values, you can create a future where everyone is loved, respected, and accepted without having to hide or be dishonest about who they are. Walk confidently on your path and remember that you are never alone. The LGBTQ+ community is always ready to accompany and support you. Be strong, proud, and always keep the fire of passion burning in your heart. Together, you can make a difference. This concludes the story. Thank you for taking the time to follow it. What's on this case? What are your thoughts on this case? If you found my story interesting and engaging, please leave a comment with the number 1. If you feel improvements are needed, comment with the number 2. For any other thoughts, please comment below. Additionally, our channel offers many other thrilling true crime documentary waiting for you to discover. Your support is the motivation that helps us continue to grow. So please leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated.